Good morning, Kahal Kadosh, Beruchim Abayim to everybody. Today, Wednesday, the 16th of Sivan, corresponding to this class, graciously sponsored by Nathan Yadgart Le'ilui Nishmat, his beloved grandmother, Meha Shalom. Additionally, today's class, graciously sponsored by Mr. Jack Dweck and family, Le'ilui Nishmat, his beloved wife, Pesha Gittel Bat Shelomo Akohen. And today's class is also dedicated Le'ilui Nishmat Mr. Mois And today's class is also dedicated Le'ilui Nishmat Mr. Mois Safra Moshe Ben Esther Alav Shalom Iratzon, that to the words of Torah all these beautiful neshamot have an aliyah in Gan Eden. Amen. I believe that when it comes to Mr. Mois Safra, many members of the Kahal remember him vividly, not only as being one of our dear founders, but a participant and a sponsor in our synagogue, especially when it came to the magnificent Grace Carry Mikveh, that he sponsored the land for the mikveh, and that's definitely a great zechut for him and his family. So B'ezrat Hashem will cover a few messages which I like to introduce just for a few moments, connected already to the parasha of today. I'm not going to give you the full version. I'd like to give maybe 3 or 4 minutes or 5 minutes maximum introductory statement about this week's Torah portion without going the historical details. If you want them, ask them from me. I have a Spanish link, video and audio about the class that we gave yesterday. So that's the Spanish version, an hour and 20 minutes. Bienvenido. Asaharaba. But I'm going to give you the American short version. The parasha of this week, it's called Veha'alotecha. Veha'alotecha et hanerot. Literally, this pasuk refers about Aharon HaKohen, and consequently or subsequently the Kohanim Gedolim that will come to history, and they will be the Kohanim Gedolim, the high priest of the Bet HaMikdash, and they will be responsible of lighting the menorah every day. But interesting enough, the Torah tells us, Beha'alotecha, when you go up, when you climb up. Beha'alotecha is the same word from the Aliyah La Torah. When you go to the Sefer, what does it mean? Give me an Aliyah, okay? Or can I have an Aliyah? Why Aliyah? It's called Aliyah. Aliyah literally means to go up to the Sefer. That's the meaning of the word Aliyah. And that doesn't require that you need to climb up the steps like we have in our beautiful main sanctuary. Not everybody has steps going up to the Teva. If you go to the Kolel, or go to the Father and Son, or go to the first floor Midrash, the Teva is flat. Nevertheless, spiritually speaking, the mere fact that a person receives an aliyah to the Sefer Torah, that alone helps the neshama of the person to grow. Why? Because from all of the kahal, you were selected to go up to the Sefer. And it doesn't matter that you have a yortzeit, or you have a simcha, or you have no yortzeit, no historical event in your life, but you went up to the Sefer Torah. There are people, which is not halachically required, but it's a good suggestion, that when a person gets an aliyah to the Sefer, when you finish the Sefer Torah, or when you get home after tefillah, review the aliyah that you received and see if there is a godly message for you. And if you look for it, you will find it. That's why it's called aliyah, going up to the Sefer. A person moves to Israel how do you call? Making aliyah to Israel. Why you call it aliyah to Israel? What if geographically Israel from America is not climbing up? Maybe you gotta go south. It's like you go to, let's say, to Brazil, right? Do you say, I'm making aliyah to Brazil? No, what do you say? I'm going down to Brazil. Why you say you're going down? Because south. Now, I don't know the geographic lines of Israel, but when you're talking about Israel, you say, I'm making aliyah to Israel. One reason could be, exactly, one reason could be that because geographically Israel may be higher than America. But when it comes to Israel, going to Israel is a spiritual uplifting situation. That's why you have Olim veYordim. Olim means those that go up. Yordim means those that came down. Not because they're coming down physically. It's because living in Israel is a catch-22. Living in Israel is a catch-22 today, till Mashiach comes. Once Mashiach comes, we have nothing to worry about. But today, if a person wants to move to Israel, the person must be ready. Emotionally, physically, spiritually, and mentally. Even financially, we can throw that word as well. Now, let's go to the menorah. V'ha'alotecha et hanerot. In the Bet HaMikdash, next to the menorah, there were steps. It was like 3 steps, short stepping stool, like people have in the kitchen. In the Mishkan, in the Bet HaMikdash, you have the same. So the Kohen will be at the same level of the menorah and will have an easy access to light the menorah. That is on the literal physical meaning of the lighting of the menorah. But in this word that I just mentioned, Beha'alotecha et hanerot, it's hidden the secret of what's our mission in this world. So we already know Veha'alotecha means to climb up or to step up. When you climb up to the nerot. What are nerot? What's the meaning of the word ner?
The actual meaning? Candle.
Candle. Hazaku Baruch. So the Torah is telling me you have a main mission in the world. You need to ignite your candle. Now, what does it mean, igniting my candle? There is a pasuk that says, Ner Hashem nishmat Adam. The candle of God, Hashem, is the soul of the person. This is not a new topic. We already know that without Hashem investing in us, we will not be alive. And when I mean investing, you know already the Gemara that I'm going to refer to in Nida, 3 partners in the creation of a child. We mentioned this the other day. The husband and the wife on the physical aspect, but guess what? A machine, you need to have a plug and an outlet for it to be connected. You know how many times you have a device or equipment and at the end of the manual there is a troubleshooting, right? And what is the first thing on that list?
Hardware set.
Or before you get there, make sure machine is plugged in. Make sure, right? The plug. Make sure that you turn the power on. Turn to a full reset, right? Now I ask you a question. Who is the right man? Mind? will press a machine without it being plugged in the wall? There are people that qualify for that. That's why they are on the manual. Okay? So you have a mega machine, but if you don't have these 3, 4, 5 feet plugging from the back of the computer and to the wall outlet, you can say Kaddish to the computer. You can have the tap of the line computer, but you're missing the component that carries electricity from the wall outlet to the machine. The Gemara in Nida says, this is the creation of a person. You have the hardware, the physical body, but that physical body needs to have the plug. That plug is the investment of God in the creation of a person. You can call it neshama. You can call it haim, life, which is the same concept. Neshama, life, soul, and life, it's a synonymous. Without the neshama, you can no haim. And if you are high, because you have a neshama. In other words, you can't separate them both. So the hidden secret of this week's parasha is Beha'alotecha et hanerot. Your mission is elevate your candle. That means elevate your neshama. Now, how do we do that? We are doing it already. At this moment, we are elevating our candles, our neshama. Baruch Hashem, everybody woke up today. Thank God, that's why you're here, correct? This sounds like the life insurance salesman, right? Remember his line? He used to go to visit people at home to sell them life insurance. And sometimes he will be told, okay, let me think about it. And what was his famous line? If you wake up in the morning, call me. It sounds scary. You know how many he sold like that? Unbelievable. I know it sounds funny, okay? But the fact that we are here, the fact that we are physically awake and well, you know what it means? That we have still missions in the world to fulfill. And there is a master plan that God has for us. As I saw once written, a message that says, the day that you were born is the way God saying, I need you in the world. The birthday of the person is God saying, welcome, I have a mission for you. Now, how long is that mission? The Baal Shem Tov writes, and it says something beautiful. It says that many times a person comes down to the world and lives certain amount of years just to fulfill a mission of saving someone or helping someone in the moment of need. Remember what I said Shabbat morning about the justification of life? We discussed Shabbat morning a very interesting statement by the great Rabbi Kanievsky, Zichrono Livracha. And I mentioned this story in the week of his passing, and I mentioned it this past Shabbat, describing how the rabbi himself, the great rabbi himself, one day tells his assistant, the rabbi had visiting hours, correct? Remember that? Yeah. The rabbi had visiting hours. In other words, you want to see the rabbi, you come to his home, let's say 1 to 3 every day, Sunday through Friday. For example, at 3 o'clock, the secretary will close the door, no more personal visitors until the next day, unless, God forbid, is an emergency. Now, one day, the great rabbi says to his secretary, well, the secretary says, Hacham, it's 3 o'clock, no one else is in the room, I'm going to close the door. The rabbi says to the gabbai, do me a favor, go down and see if there is somebody else that wants to speak to me. The gabbai says, I don't see anybody from the staircase. The rabbi says, go check again. To make a long story short, no one came. Why? Because they already know. The rabbi sees from 1 to 3. But at the end of the day, the rabbi's assistant asked the great Hacham, Rabbi, if we have visiting hours 1 to 3, why did you send me twice to see if there is somebody waiting for me to speak to me or for a blessing? The rabbi said, very simple, maybe the reason God is keeping me alive in the world is to help that person. Do you know who justified my life? This is similar to what the Baal Shem Tov says. The Baal Shem Tov says, maybe the only reason why a person lives so many years in this world is to achieve something for someone. The rest is a bonus gift. The rest is a bonus. Like David HaMelech. Remember David HaMelech, King David in Shavuot? Why did Adam give from his life 70 years to David? Very simple. David was supposed to be born and leave the world on the same day, not even living 24 hours. That was his tikkun in the world. To be conceived by his holy parents, being born, and live in less than 24 hours. So, you know what Adam said? Hold on a minute. If his mission in the world is only to be conceived and to be born and to live the same day, less than 24 hours, I like to invest in his life. So all the actions, they are accredited to my account. Do you feel the reasoning of Adam HaRishon? Adam HaRishon knows that he needs to make the tikkun of his sin. What better way of investing, having double dipping? That even after Adam HaRishon left the world, there is an IPO coming. And this name is King David. Best investment in life. That's why Adam HaRishon gave David 70 years of his life. Because he was getting dividends. Imagine yourself, you're sleeping at home and you're making money. Somebody yesterday called me, says, Rabbi, I need a prayer of refuah shelema. I said, who? Bitcoin.
The whole stock market.
Ethereum. He said, what happened? Do I need to call Atzalah? It sounds funny, but that was yesterday's phone call. I'd rather have those type of phone calls than real life, right?
It's good problems.
Unbelievable.
Better.
Unbelievable. So now that we understand that our mission in this world is to upgrade our neshama, everybody is included. That's why the Halakha writes that parents should not overlook and cannot overlook the importance of the children eating kasher from a young age and including observance of Shabbat. Sometimes people, out of lack of knowledge or innocence, what they say, Khalio, yani walad, is a child. Rabbi Yosef writes this, I believe in the laws of Shemirat HaNefesh, the welfare of the person. I believe, I'm 98% that that's what it's written. And it says, what do you think? That the neshama of a child doesn't feel, doesn't sense? The opposite. the neshama of the child is afflicted or affected by the mother's food consumption and drinks consumption and overall behavior while she's pregnant with this unborn child. Why? Because the Gemara writes that the feeding of the child, how does the fetus survive throughout the 9 months of pregnancy? Through the umbilical cord. And what do you think it goes through the umbilical cord? Whatever it goes through, made by the mother's body. I don't think the shawarma is going to go to the umbilical cord. Most likely blood and oxygen and fluids. I'm not a doctor, but I believe that that's basically what it works, correct? So what happens then? Halacha writes that if the mother consumes non-kosher food, or God forbid, utilizes alcohol, or God forbid, drugs, chas v'shalom, it affects directly the child. I told you the case that happened in Miami 20 years ago of a child born to a mother that was a drug addict. There is such a thing. Jewish child, by the way. Baruch Hashem, she was adopted by a wonderful family that I personally know. And Baruch Hashem, she built a beautiful home. But in the early days, to deal with a child born from an addicted mother, you know what it means? I don't want to say you got to change the blood. You got to do a blood transfusion. But more or less, it's a complicated case because a child is born with addiction. God forbid. I know it sounds scary, right? Don't try this at home. Sounds scary, but this is what's happening out there. Now, as much as a person wants to climb up and develop their potential, we always going to have competition. Competition. You have competition in business, correct? People compete with each other. Yes or no, right, not the topic of today. But the Gemara, and that's the foundation of the Gemara of today, and it says that the person goes through spiritual struggles in life. And by the way, it doesn't matter who you are. You can be a 14-year-old boy, you can be 15-year-old boy, you can be 40-year-old man, you can be 10 years old, or you can be 89 years old. In other words, the Yetzer Hara has one mission: not to lose customers. In your line of business, what's your way of doing business? A customer comes in, cannot walk out empty-handed. Sometimes you gotta throw in a couple of battery chargers, or a freebies, or a leather bag. Why? You cause the sale, you entice them. The Yetzer Hara works in the same fashion. But the benefit that we have in our world, in our life, is that we have antibodies to protect ourselves from this. Now, not all the time the defense mechanism of the body works. What does that mean, not all the time? Sometimes we have the upper hand and we tell the Yetzer Hara, don't bother me. I'm going to wake up early to come to the synagogue, to pray, have breakfast, and learn a few minutes of Torah. Or sometimes the Yetzer Hara says to the person, Haram, you are tired. Rambam writes that you have to sleep 8 hours a day. Now suddenly he comes with a halakha, right? He's telling you, Maimonides is right, that you want to be healthy and strong, sleep 8 hours a day. What he doesn't tell you is that the Rambam also writes, you must learn 8 hours a day of Torah, and you work only 8 hours a day of Torah. And that includes shower, bathroom, and meal times. He doesn't tell you that. He only tells you what he wants you to hear. So therefore, the Gemara writes, and it says, Kol hazobeach es isro. A person who takes the Yetzer Hara, zobeach literally means you offer him, you slaughter him. What does that mean, you slaughter him? You control him. Now, it's like Kivedol HaKadosh Baruch Hu. This is like if a person came to God and it says, God, I have a gift for you. You already gave gifts to God today. Which gift did you give to God? The Hazak Baruch. You see, he speaks like baseball coaches with hand signals, right? I'm here. I am up. I woke up on time. I came to pray. I came to learn. This was your gift to God for breakfast. Now you're going to go to the world of business. You're going to encounter situations. You're going to encounter situations. Hopefully all of them will be good and bountiful and successful. But occasionally we may have a spiritual challenge or a hiccup. You know, somebody told me about a business deal that he made. I said, I'll be honest with you. I think you made the biggest avon in the world of finances. How can you say that? He says, because what you did is exactly what the Halakha says not to do. Without going into details. You got to do your research, he said. You know, people don't ask me before. People tell me after the fact. Which, thank God, at least they tell me. So I try, to the best of my limited knowledge and abilities, to guide them and to help them do things which are right. And this is, if you remember yesterday, when we finished the class, we quoted a pasuk that I personally love because, in a way, summarizes who we are as Yehudim. The pasuk comes from King Solomon, Shlomo HaMelech, that says, "Bechol derachecha da'ehu." In every step of your life, in every one of your pathways, you get to see God. Behu yeyasher orchotecha. Hello? Excellent. Now, what this pasuk literally means, you know what this pasuk means? That there is no area in life that there is no room for godliness. It doesn't mean become an angel. You are an angel. Usually when you say you're an angel, it means that you're a nice person, Baruch Hashem, malach. Okay? The Torah is not telling you, become an angel. The Torah is telling us, take God with you on vacation. You're going to go on vacation? Take God with you. Take your koracha with you. Make sure you have your kosher food. Make sure you find a kosher restaurant if you did not bring food. Make sure you have a knis to go to pray. Make sure that your wife needs a mikveh. There is a mikveh available. For example, you want to buy an apartment. You know, I told this to somebody the other day. Somebody tells me, Rabbi, I'm buying an apartment. Which floor? That's usually my first question. 26. 2618.
Wow, it's a good number.
You see? That's the guy's reaction. God's name, high. My first question is there a Shabbat elevator? No. I go on the elevator. I said, but you're not allowed to go. You have to have a Shabbat elevator or do halachically lenient steps of how to be able to benefit from it. Oh, but I thought that, okay, whatever happened, it happened. Okay? But even to buy an apartment, you need to think. You can have the best view. It could be ready to move in. But if you don't have the godly shtick with it, may not be the best decision of your life. You're going to move to a city. Your company says, Google says, we're going to send you now to live in Vietnam. Okay? Thank God there is a Chabad house in Vietnam. But you think it's easy to live in Vietnam? Or to live in even Tampa, Florida? Orlando is becoming more a stabilized community.
Yeah.
Palm Beach, Boca, thank God there is. Okay? But if you're going to move in, you better do your homework before you move to make sure that your spiritual necessities are being met to the best of everybody's abilities. The Gemara goes further and it says, one of the things that a person should always do, pray that problems don't ever become activated. The language of the Talmud is Le'olam, Amar Rabbi Elazar, forever. Yakdim Adam Tefillah LeSara. Pray before it rains. Yani don't wait, God forbid, to experience a challenge or a setback in life to pray for something. Pray in advance. And that praying in advance becomes a cushion if ever, God forbid, there is a strike or a hiccup against the person, you have insurance. And this insurance policy is called tefillah. The Gemara goes even further. Kol hame'ametz atzmo bitfilah milemata. It says that a person who makes the effort of praying in the world, meaning to say, when you pray for parnasa, you put a thought for parnasa. That I use this one because it's the easiest one. I don't know someone who doesn't pray for parnasa. Everybody prays for parnasa. But what about praying for refuah shelema? That Hashem sends a recovery to those who need it. What about praying to stop suffering? God forbid. That's another blessing. What about praying for teshuvah? That's another blessing. So it says the Gemara that the more the person prays for their matters, en lo sarim milemala, suddenly you send a preemptive strike to the heaven judicial system. That's the meaning of the Gemara statement. And suddenly, if potential headaches were planning to come down to haunt you or to haunt any one of us in life, it will happen. I'm going to tell you a miracle that happened to me yesterday, less than 24 hours ago. What time is it now? 10 to 10. My miracle developed between noontime and 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Mega miracle. Big time. And a thought activated the miracle. Not even an action. A thought. Obviously, it's the kindness of Hashem. But I'm going to tell you what happened to me yesterday. I finished the class. I went to pick up my wife to go to the airport. We're expecting a grandchild soon, Be'ezat Hashem. Thank you for our daughter. So she goes there ahead to help and be ready. So I'm relaxed, no rush to go anywhere. But I have to go to the airport yesterday. We went to the airport, everything good, checked in, Baruch Hashem, I'm heading back to come to the office. That's 12 o'clock, 5 to 12. Suddenly, as I'm driving 95 south to come to the Knis, there is metallic debris flying in the highway. Don't ask me what it came from. I did see a bumper flying. Then I saw pieces of metal flying. Suddenly, I'm driving in my car. I press the brake. What do I hear? Metal sound underneath my car. I get out of my car. I park safely. I get out. I look at the wheel. I'm not a mechanic. It looks good. It looks good. Let's continue. Slowly, with more cautiousness now. I continue driving. Every time I press brake, I hear something. I decided, you know what? I'm coming down Biscayne Boulevard. Let me go to the dealer to inspect the car. Right away, they tell me, call the insurance. I call Geico. We need to open up a claim. Now, I went to the collision center. Now, suddenly became a mahloket between collision and mechanical. Because, thank God, there was no body damage to the car. Thank God, Baruch Hashem, wheels look good, rims look good, everything looks fine. Geico tells me, okay, you have a $500 deductible, and we're going to give you a car rental because you have car rental coverage. We're going to have car rental company pick you up at the dealership. I said, Chazako Baruch. Okay, kapara. Then a thought came to my mind, and he said, I would have been better off paying the $500 to the kollel than paying the deductible to Geico. This was my thought as I'm waiting, sitting down, that Geico confirms to me that Enterprise is going to come pick me up. The lady, after half an hour, says, sir, I'm sorry, take an Uber. It's going to be faster. It wasn't too far, and I was ready to do so. So then, the lady from the collision center says, according to the protocol, your case is not collision. Your case is mechanical, because the body of the car is good. So I go to the mechanical guy. He says, sir, how can I help you? I tell him the whole Megillah. He says, let's go for a test drive. He tests the car, and he says, I see what you are saying. Have a seat. Let me see something. He goes inside, now with the vehicle, to the mechanical department. He lifts the vehicle, and what does he find? A piece of metal stuck between the rim and the disc of the brakes. He removed it. He says, it's your lucky day. No deductible you need to pay. No $500 to Geico. We fix it on the house because you leased this vehicle with us last year. So I was ready to pay the $500. Don't worry, I already gave the $500 to the kollel. I said, God made me a miracle. God made me a miracle. A miracle that nothing happened. And I was already calculating, okay, I leave the car here, but what if I need to travel to Brooklyn if there is a boy? What am I going to do with the car rental? What am I going to do with my in-laws? What am I going to do with my car? The brain of the machine starts making all kinds of, and I got to return the car in North Miami. I got to take an Uber to the airport. Thank God I don't get overwhelmed, but I'm telling you at the speed that my brain yesterday was working. When the fellow came back and he says, Mr. Galimidi, today it's on the house. Here is the piece of metal that got stuck. We inspected the brakes. Everything is good, brand new. Have a great day. They canceled the claim from Geico. I did not pay the $500 to them. I donated the money immediately, Baruch Hashem, to the kollel because that was what I was saved from. I'd rather give it to charity or to support Torah, like we learned the other day, and I owe $500 to the kollel. That's why I paid the bill, okay, from the aliyot. So I said, you know what? I'd rather do it in this way than doing it in a negative way. If I really need to swipe the credit card, now you can do it for a deductible, or you can do it to help. Which one you rather have? Chazaku Baruch. Which one you rather have? That's a miracle that happened to me yesterday, less than 24 hours ago. It's going to continue today because I was so touched by the fellow that I wanted to show him my appreciation. And he refused to take money. I wanted to give him something. Go get something. So I'm going to go something to a kosher store, buy a kosher bottle of wine, drive by and say thank you so much for yesterday, and Shalom Al Israel. That was my miracle. Less than 24 hours ago. Nice?
Yeah.
You hang around with me, you see miracles every day. Some of them that I'm able to share, some of them that I cannot share,